Hey, everybody. Welcome to Group Chat. Today, it's Anand and I. D is gone. Inflation's
He's a soccer
too
player,
high.
it looks like.
What's he doing?
I don't know. I saw on Instagram he's playing soccer with
Playing
Pete.
soccer. Okay. Well, he heard about the Saudis investing in soccer, and he started taking up soccer. I think he saw those inflation numbers, and he's like, I need a break. So it's Anand and I, and we're going over everything you need to know. I mean, it's a lot of, inflation numbers came in. We kind of forecasted on the last episode what we thought they would be. And they're in, and they're not pretty. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what's going on in the stock market. Of course, we have Elon news, a lot of other things. And then we end with our winners, losers, and content recommendations. You ready, Anand?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Hey, Anand.
Things seem expensive.
Things are getting a little pricey. So I think you and I both really were optimistic.
Yep.
And we were let down. Optimism doesn't pay in 2022, I don't think.
Yeah. So the inflation print that we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks came in at a record hot 9.1%.
Hefty 9.1.
After north of 8% the month before. And just to note, this is a trailing inflation stat. So it's for June. And while oil was higher in June, it's lower in July. And you're starting to see things cool off a bit, like the price of fertilizers going down. Price of avocados has come down. And these are just like kind of one-off things. So
Is it lower next month, or is it lower for July?
I mean, it should be, but they'll probably tell us it's 10%.
I mean, Joe Biden said that it's outdated and gas is already much cheaper.
Oil is down over June, but I mean, this is the funny thing that like we tanked the stock market 2 days in a row because we saw what happened the last 30 days and not predicting what the next 30 days look like. And the entire purpose of the stock market is future earnings and future profits. And every stock is valued on what are you going to do in the future, not what are you going to do in the past.
Yep. Hey,
so I don't know how to reconcile this.
It doesn't have to make sense.
So, I mean, like we said,
but is this because they're expecting additional rate hikes and that's why they're calling it the future?
No, I think so a couple things happened yesterday is basically like, obviously the inflation was higher than expected, higher than, we've seen in decades. And then the Federal Reserve now, you remember, I mean, this is how funny all this is. Remember 2.5 months ago, the Federal Reserve raised rates 50 basis points and said 75's off the table?
Yep.
Like, why would you say that? And then raise 75, and now they're saying 100 basis points is on the table. So in a 3-month span, you've lost complete credibility. I mean, they've lost credibility for an 8-month span, but like, why do we trust anything these guys say?
I mean, all that they do is try to make the news as tolerable as possible that day. They don't care about the future or changing their stance, or like, it's crazy. I feel like everyone in government has lost their credibility in the last 3 years.
Yeah, especially
it just seems like the CDC has lost their credibility, the WHO, all of it.
Yeah, especially when the stakes are so high, because pre-pandemic, the stakes weren't that high, right? Like the economy wasn't swinging violently one way or the other. We weren't having lockdowns one way or the other. But now that we put a microscope to these officials, from health officials to financial officials with the Federal Reserve, because they affect everyone so dramatically that now everyone's finally paying attention. They probably
all it is the moment when there's actual work to be done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can just kind of hide behind like things are good. There's no pandemics. There's no, like, you know what I mean? But the moment there's real work to be done, it all falls apart. Yeah.
I mean, so now people are expecting 100 basis point hike, which would be the highest in decades in a single hike. And I don't think the stock market knows what to do, because the stock market kind of feels drunk right now. Like it crashed right as soon as the inflation print happened yesterday. Then it recovered. Then it went green a little bit, and then it went down. And then today it went down, and it was going all over the place. Yep. And this is the problem, right? I think the stock market's reflecting how much of a lack of credibility we have in the data.
Yeah.
And government officials, that they're like, we just don't trust anything you guys say.
Yeah.
So we're just going to like vacillate along the way till it's clear it's one way or the other.
Yeah. Plus, we're just coming in hot on earnings season, which I have to believe is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I think similar to like how we all knew that inflation was higher than they were saying, and it was a bigger problem than they were saying. And even back when we knew it wasn't transitory, I think earnings, from everything that I'm hearing, I know D said this last week, and D talks to way more people in different industries than I do. But from everyone I'm hearing, and from big retailers and from whatever, it's not good at all. And I think earnings season is going to be pretty horrendous.
Yeah, I don't think you can talk to any company and they're like, yeah, the last 3 months are better than the 3 months before.
Yeah, literally no one. No one. And I've talked to like data, people doing e-com data stuff, so they see a wide range, or even like inventory planner people or large retailers, or like no one. It's not even like on the table that maybe somebody is doing okay, or maybe even that someone's like slightly up from last year. It's like, okay, everyone's down, but how bad, and what industries are getting it the worst?
Yeah, the banks all forecasted like terrible earnings, so that's not a good sign. They're seeing credit loss higher, so it's across the board. And I think retail gets hit the hardest, don't you think? Like the consumer has to be significantly softer.
Yeah, for sure.
And like the Targets, the Dillard's, they have to be just Walmart. Yeah, they must be just getting creamed. I can't imagine.
I think they are. I think retail, anyone in retail that I talk to is having a tough time. Different degrees of tough time, but like some people really bad. And some people just really chaotic and inventory problems and just craziness. I can't imagine that it's anything less than pretty brutal for this whole earnings time, at least for retail.
Yeah, and you can extrapolate even software companies. So the company ServiceNow, which is a massive software company, don't ask me what they do, but I know they're big. Mm-hmm. They came out and said, they're going to revise downward, and the entire software market went down. And then anecdotally, I was talking to one of our good friends who runs a big software company, and he was saying, like Snowflake, for example, this is not investment advice. Snowflake, for example, is a tool that helps engineers, and CEOs from many companies are telling their engineers, like, stop using Snowflake. We're cutting it. Just get better at your job. So all these tools that were used to make engineers' jobs easier, the managers and CEOs are like, just work harder. Stop using all these shortcuts, and we're going to cut our spend.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's just what happens in these moments. Like, we just got out of fantasy land where a lot of these companies could add on all these tools and these extra things and make life easier and work from home and work from fucking Bali and have all that, like, and it's just like, it's a snowball effect in these moments. And I just think earnings, I'm so curious to see. I think earnings is going to be.
So it's going to be interesting. So if earnings are a disaster, which I think all of us can vary in degree of how big of a disaster we think, but they're going to be bad.
Yeah.
What the Fed wants is a recession, whether they're going to admit it or not. They want to smash the economy, and they basically want to prove that inflation's down, and they have no way of doing it other than signaling things are bad. They're going to keep raising rates. Inflation sucks and blah, blah, blah. And we need more unemployment, which they've said explicitly.
Yeah.
Will they change their tune if this next quarter is, leading into third quarter? Do we see companies just as they report, like they're going to start announcing that they're revising downward before their earnings, the ones that are really getting crushed? Because I think they have like a fiduciary duty to do that if it's really like catastrophic.
Yeah.
So will the Fed start signaling, okay, we're seeing the carnage we want, we're going to back off a little?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't tell. That's what I don't know is like, how bad does it have to get? Like, can we get like creamed for maybe 2 quarters and then like we're all good and like let's go ahead and turn this thing around, and like inflation starts to go down, maybe we get it to like 6.5 and everything rips, and like I don't know, or does it need to be like completely decimated like into next year and jobless numbers just be through the roof? And I don't know, like this is new to me. So
apparently I was told by a financial manager that the historical data shows that the S&P 500 bottoms 6 months before the bottom of recession. So meaning while the average person's getting crushed, the stock market starts to rip. So I think if you kind of put it in like a really blunt sense, like first 6-7 months of the year, rich people got crushed.
Yeah.
Next 6 months of the year, average people are going to get crushed. And that's when the rich people come back roaring.
Yep. Okay. Well, at least that'll be our signifier, but it seems like, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what to believe or what to even forecast, because so many people are saying that we're not close to the bottom.
Bottom of what? The economy,
the
or the market?
Of, let's say, the S&P.
So I think the people I talk to aren't going to definitively say we're at the bottom, but I don't think people think there's that much more to go.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, I want to believe that. I want to buy into your optimism.
Well, it sucks because it's the optimism for the stock market, but it's the pessimism to the average person.
Sure, but if that's the leading indicator, let's say 6 months, we might as well get started. The sooner we get started, the sooner we get started. So it'd be better that starts ripping tomorrow than.
Yeah, because if you think about like, if you watched any of like the Bloombergs or CNBCs yesterday when the CPI number came out, it was like person after person was like, we saw the CPI number. We were driving into the office and we're like, oh my God, it's going to be complete carnage. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sign that like, you know, people don't want to sell off too much more. You start hearing smart money's like dollar cost averaging now. And like, I don't know, but there's always the point, like if there's another shoe to drop, all bets are off. But if there's no shoe to drop, like meaning nothing escalates in Russia, China doesn't do anything crazy, I don't know.
But don't you think, so in my perspective, this is all, like, let's say we're just talking about the stock market. It's not thinking about an earnings season that is terrible.
No.
Like, I think that could give us a new low.
Yeah, I think you're right. It could. But I think the stock market, what we learned in COVID, is a function of liquidity in the market, not the performance of a business. So if the Fed backs off and lowers interest rates because it's really bad, like there's like so many different theories of how this can go. It could be Fed raises 100 basis points, 75 basis points. By third, fourth quarter, economy's in shambles. They start reducing rates. That means more liquidity comes in the market and people start buying stocks again. Because if you think about it, it's like BlackRock, it's Vanguard, and it's Fidelity. They have like $22 trillion. They control like 96% of the S&P 500.
Yeah.
So they dictate the market, not retail, not even hedge funds to the most part, at least the broader market. Hedge funds do in like maybe tech stocks or whatever, but like the broader market. So once they have more liquidity, that's all they care about. And then they need a place to put it. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hope. Let's hope for a relatively mellow bloodbath on earnings season. And
I mean, to honestly, the market may love earnings. I mean, this is another theory. Maybe the market loves that companies are just getting bashed, which means the Fed will have to slow down, inflation's down, and you get rewarded. Like, we don't want 20% down, we want 35% down. I don't know, in the last 3 years, nothing makes sense.
You're right. You're right. Oh my God. Okay.
And we'll you know what the best part about the last 3 years, and I'm going to include the last 7 months, plus the 2 years prior, because it was completely different. One was uninterrupted growth and one was uninterrupted downward, is that nobody knows anything.
Yeah, nothing.
Because if
Nothing,
I go
literally
back to
nobody.
the podcast I was listening to a year and a half ago, I told actually a couple of my friends, I was like, I decided to stop listening to these because they all sounded like geniuses a year ago and they were all wrong.
Yeah.
And now they all have all these theories now and they're probably wrong again.
Yeah. It's funny. If you listen, I think you mentioned this, but if you listen to even clips of our show over the last 3 years, it's just funny how like, it's like literally nothing panned out. Like even when we're talking about like going out in the roaring 20s and like, it's just nothing.
The 20s was like we were going up the roller coaster about to hit the drop and we just went right back down the other way.
Yeah, we did. It's like a cartoon.
But what my point is, I just laid out like 4 different scenarios and I'm not pretending to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and they could like one of them could be right or none of them could be right. And I honestly don't think anyone on earth knows.
No one.
Okay, well, there you have it. I mean, I'm excited for what we do here on the pod. I'm excited for earnings season because not excited for people's failures, but I think there'll be a lot to like learn and talk about and see how these different companies are doing. I think this is going to be like, I think we've talked about inflation. We've talked about how hard it is on the average American. We've talked about all of that, but like, yeah, last earnings season, you kind of saw a little bit of it creeping in, but not really. Like, I do think this is the one where we see how hard everyone's truly been hit.
Yeah. No question.
Great. Okay. Let's talk about your boy Elon. Cause as always, this guy is just pumping out newsworthy content every single day. I guess there's 2 main things to talk about today. I think the more entertaining one is that there's a full on beef going on. I mean, I guess it's a little one-sided. Nah, whatever. It's a beef between Elon and Trump, which is incredible. I mean, I don't think I could pick a better pair if I wanted to. Essentially, I think that it started because Trump was kind of taking little tiny shots at Elon for his bad Twitter deal and stuff like that. I guess I don't know why Trump was initially pissed.
Oh, I think the timeline of events is basically Elon tweeted that I think DeSantis would be a good president and like no one that old as Trump, regardless of who they are, should be running a country. Like they don't have the mental faculties. Like you don't need an 82-year-old CEO. He's like, I would never have an 82. I mean, to that point, like he's not wrong. Because Trump would be 82 by the end of his term. And that's when Trump unleashed the Trump.
Trump went in and called him a bullshit artist. He's speaking at his rallies saying that Elon, if he would have asked him to get down on his knees, he would have. That he told Trump he's been a Republican and he voted for him, which Elon retweeted a post about that and said not true. I mean, I don't know what else. This is great. And we just Trump have primetime entertainment here.
Elon would be like a bust if it weren't for all the government subsidies. Like we basically handed him this business. And if you kind of step back where we are in 2022, you have the former president of the United States, who's still very, very influential and was the most powerful person on earth 2 years ago. And you have the richest man on earth just doing pot shots on Truth Social versus Twitter.
Yeah.
Like that's where we are in 2022.
Well, the opposite, right? Did you say the richest man on earth with pot shot? The opposite, whatever.
But the fact that, that we have the richest man on earth and a former most powerful person on earth just taking like pot shots at each other, like memes, kids. Like little, Like how can you, if you're a parent of a Trump supporter, tell like little Billy, when you go to school, if someone says something negative to you, just like walk away. You can't.
But even fuck a Trump supporter. If you're the parent of a genius fucking whatever engineer, you can't even tell him to just keep your head down and get the work done and be the bigger person. You have literally like the MAGA aggressive whatever partaking, and then you have the like genius engineer entrepreneur partaking. I don't think you can. I think that in this day and age, the best parenting advice is to get good at memes and get good at your roasting capabilities. Because it's, I mean, how are you going to direct anyone to do anything else?
Elon and Trump have basically made the whole world like a comedy roast with like Jeff Ross.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like a roast battle. Remember we went to that roast battle?
It's like that. It was really fun.
Every kid should have to go to that. Instead of going to like band camp or whatever the fuck they're going to, you should go to roast battle, and you guys should have to
learn how to diss people.
Yeah, you should have to learn how to roast.
I'm curious, like at schools right now, given the climate, are kids just like increasingly mean to each other, taking like crazy insults, and they just go back and forth, and then it turns into a fight?
I can't tell, because I also like we've seen some signs of like there's also the kind of super like woke crowds in high schools where like everyone's accepted and anything, you can be anything you want, and gender identity, and why are we judging anyone? So I would have to believe that there's like different like cliques or something. I don't know. I would really die to understand the true landscape of high school in 2022. Yeah,
no, totally. And I think the SEC is, like I said previously, I don't think they're going to let Elon off the hook here. I don't know what that means. Is it just fines, or like what, like, is it the extent that they're going to force him to step down from public market companies?
Because they're on him for his tweets now. What are they on him for right now?
They're on him for his tweets that like you falsified information, you falsified your intent. And the SEC is like largely right, because he was able to break every rule in plain sight. And that's what we're saying. Like, if you're powerful enough, you're allowed to break the rules in plain sight, like Trump has done. But, you know, they bust the like 23-year-old Goldman trader that makes like 75 grand on like a tip.
For sure. Yeah, it's true. And I also think that like he's pissed off, you know, like Trump could do that because he was literally the president, and what we learned is anything goes. I think politically Elon has so many enemies that he can't, I mean, he can get away with a lot, but he's pushing every single boundary.
I gotta imagine he loses like the big business guy support, like the big billionaire guys are like, I probably should just distance myself from Elon. Like, it's probably not a good look, because he has enemies now on both sides. The left hates him. Now the entire Trump media hates him. Like, where do you hide?
Rough. I mean, the moment he gets, it has to become real with a punishment. I think if he gets a punishment of some sort that's like pretty harsh, I think it snowballs quickly. Like, I think people kind of give up on him really quick from all sides. I think he can become toxic really quickly. But if he doesn't get that, which just to be clear, I would love for him I would love for no repercussions. Let's just keep the entertainment train rolling.
Like, do you think he has an end game, or he's just figuring it out on the day? Like, one day let's fuck with Twitter, one day let's fuck with Trump.
I think the only end game is get to Mars. And I think he just is like living in simulation. I mean, he literally, like, I meant to send this to you. When, you know how the James Webb telescope just released all those new images of outer space. Elon's repost was, and his tweet was, now the simulation is going to have to learn how to render faster, or something like that. Something along the lines of like, now that we have higher definition images, the simulation is going to have to render a higher quality of the simulation. And I don't think he's totally joking.
I don't even follow what that means.
So essentially, picture this. Now that we are able to take higher definition photos of deeper into space, if this is all a simulation, then the people in charge of the simulation are going to have to make even higher resolution simulation, because we're now taking photos farther. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't think he's joking.
Yeah, I don't.
So
think
in that vein, he's going to keep pushing the envelope until someone silences him.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think he would genuinely be bummed if something got in the way of his Mars aspirations. But like,
seems like that's all he cares about, right?
Yeah, I think that's all he genuinely cares about. Other than that, it almost feels like the rest is kind of a joke to him.
I don't know. We have some young folks in the podcast room. Were you guys Elon fans before?
I was never an Elon fan.
Okay.
Are you an Elon not like, do you not dislike him, or are you impartial?
I tried not to comment on him at all.
But generally young people worship him, right?
No. At least not my friends.
Javier's here saying yes. So what about you? Do you think of him any differently?
I think, you hit it nail on the head. He started to draw a line because they kind of intertwined him as this big businessman, but now he's kind of gone against the grain by beefing with Trump, who kind of people put him in the same pool with. It's a different story now.
So how do
Is he kind of like Kanye?
A little bit. I think that's actually a very good comparison in that sense.
Like some people love him, some people hate him, some people just don't pay attention.
He seems
Kanye's
crazier now, I would tell you, in that
clock
same way.
that like he can't do any wrong and his fan will never turn on him.
Yeah.
Is that the same as Javier? You're an Elon fan. Can he do anything that
100%.
Yeah, I think so. I'm the same way.
Javier's just about to jump on the mic.
100% Elon can do whatever he wants.
You don't care.
Don't care. He's Kanye. He can buy Twitter, not buy Twitter, make memes, not make memes.
Yeah.
I love him.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I got to be honest for our listeners. I'm kind of like a Kanye stan with Elon. It would take so much for me to think that he's genuinely like bad for. Like, I just think it's so fucking entertaining. And the fact that he's not just a rich guy, he's like the richest guy in recorded history. And he's making memes about fucking Hunter Biden wearing GoPros when he's having sex with hookers. It's like, what the fuck? It's so crazy.
I'm the old guy in the room.
You're over it. Yeah, you're over it.
Yeah,
you're
I've
over
been
it.
over it.
That's fair. That's what makes the pod good. We'll all have our different angles.
Yeah.
I think D's probably more in my lane, but at least we have
D's
a good battle
flavor
there.
of the moment, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. D could turn on him next month.
Right now, when it's a little dicey, he may turn on him.
Yeah.
And then if Tesla like releases a minivan that fits Dom and Miles, he's back on him.
He's back. And then he could be back off by Christmas.
Yeah.
Also with Trump, is this true? Trump, I think everyone's been, myself included, kind of waiting day by day to hear if Trump is going to run in 2024. I've been like, just to be honest, even though every sign points towards yes, it just seems maybe too crazy. Like maybe he is too old. Maybe it's time for him to just chill. And like, I've really been hoping that like, there's just going to be news that's like, hey, the guy's not even running. Like we can at least get that out of the game for like the craziness index. But did he say in an interview recently or just the other day that the question is not if, but when he's going to announce?
Yeah. So he did an interview with New York Magazine. And he said, I've already made that decision, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And now we have a full-on brawl between him and DeSantis. And I know we don't like to talk about politics, but we do like to talk about entertainment. And let me tell you,
this is more WWE than politics.
Trump v. DeSantis is going to be an all-out, gloves off. I can't even think of something that's going to be as kind of, I don't know. They're kind of both on the same side, but they're fighting for the same person.
Yeah,
it's not good. Trump Clinton. It's not Trump Biden. This is a whole new WWE that we've never seen before.
Is it already starting to heat up? I know Trump has been running with this, like, I got him elected. He begged me.
DeSantis hasn't said anything. He's got a huge donor, like, dinner thing with the richest Republicans in Utah coming up. So you're going to see a list of like who's already picked their side.
Yep.
And, you can't wait for Trump to be like, oh, this guy, you should see what I hid from him when I was president.
Yeah.
He's just going to be pulling everything.
I can't wait. And I think we're going to learn, a lot about, number one, like the state of at least the Republican Party. Like, what do they really believe? Do they really want someone a little bit calmer, or do they are they all just QAnon fucking craziness? And I also think we're going to learn a lot about like PR. Does brash insanity just work in 2022 and nothing else? And then I also think if Trump loses to DeSantis, he's going to have a meltdown.
Yeah. So what does he do if he loses?
I think he melts down. I think he goes crazy. I think he goes full conspiracy, just crazy guy. I don't think his ego can take that. Because I think he looks at DeSantis as like small potatoes.
Right.
And he's the big dog. And I think that he also, in his mind, he has so much power in the Republican Party, and he has since he was president, that he thinks like he's just pulling the strings, and he's just, he's still the big dog and he's just whatever. And then all of a sudden, if people start flipping on him and that wasn't true, and the Republican Party is more about DeSantis, he is going to have a fucking meltdown, I think.
The best part about the entertainment portion for me is like the right-wing opinionists that are going to have to hedge till the last minute.
Yeah.
Right? They can't, because right now it's easy for them. Trump was everything, Biden's a moron. That's all they say, right? Like the Clay Travises of the world, the Ben Shapiro's.
Easy script. Yep.
Tucker Carlson. Now you have two guys from the same side going after the same person. When are they going to take their sides? And you know Trump's going to be badgering them like, I made you guys so rich because you guys got to cover me. Now you guys are making, you know, all this money because you made money off the Trump bandwagon. Pick me.
Yeah, this is blockbuster. God, we have so much good shit coming up. We have this. I mean,
when's Tucker going to be forced to choose?
I mean, you know, these motherfuckers switch their tone so quick.
Yeah, it's whatever. It was so easy though. Their script was so easy before.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They'll just kind of hedge, I think. I mean, but you know, remember when Trump was like, everyone in the Republican Party shitted on Trump before he got the Republican nomination.
Yep.
And I mean, shitted on him. And Trump right back at them. And then the moment he got the nomination, everyone switched. And
including
I feel like
all the Lindsey Grahams and the
Ted Cruz and didn't he say Ted Cruz had an ugly wife or something?
And his dad was involved with the assassination of JFK.
Yeah, wild shit. And then they were like, we support Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, I agree. But leading up to it, Trump's going to be badgering them like, I made you guys all famous. Now, back me.
It's tough. It's going to be tough. Those guys are going to be sweating all the way down to the finish line. And I
mean, if you think it like the production board at Fox News right now, they must be panicking.
Yeah. They're probably figuring out, how do we have hot takes without things that won't age well? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we still get our headlines, but not put all of our eggs in one basket? That'll be the very delicate line to walk.
Because like a couple of weeks ago, I think Trump was polling above 50% with the GOP, which is obviously he's the known name. Yeah. And then now he's trending slowly downward, and DeSantis is trending slowly upward.
Oh no, he's gonna melt down. He's gonna pull some wild shit. It's gonna be so entertaining.
Yeah.
Anand, let's take one quick second to talk about what's going on over at Ledger.
Yeah, we have a special opportunity for group chat listeners. We have 150 pre-mint spots to give away to listeners of group chat. The way you can sign up is premint.xyz/group chat. And you have a chance to be selected for a mint spot. You have until July 18th to sign up. Your wallet has to have at least 0.1337 ETH in order to be one of the lucky 150 listeners to be part of their launch of the NFT marketplace, the Genesis edition. And July 18th is the deadline. Winners will be posted on the pre-mint site once signups close. Stay tuned on Ledger Twitter for all announcements later this week.
And that is PREMINT.xyz/group chat. Go check it out. Back to the episode. All right, let's talk about some business. Stripe has cut their internal valuation by 28%. So these are the things that we expect to see happening really left and right, I would think.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big shoe to drop because Stripe, by all accounts in private technology companies, is the gold standard. There's no one that is revered more than Stripe. Yep. Their last valuation was like $95 billion. They were trading at 180 to 200 billion in the secondary market 6 months ago.
Sheesh.
And as of like 3 weeks ago, they were trading at 120 billion in the secondary markets.
Yep.
And now they've internally cut their valuation to 75 billion. So if Stripe, which is the tier one, it's like the Michael Jordan, LeBron James of private tech, is down 30%. What's everyone else should be down? 95%.
Question, why do you cut your internal valuation? Why do you cut it before, like on your own terms, just to set the tone?
No, I
have
think
a shock.
So a lot of companies do that so that they can re-incentivize their employees by topping them up with equity.
Got it.
Right. So like, because they're people that got issued equity at 95 billion, everyone knows it's not 95 billion. So let's lower the mark and reissue equity at 75 billion.
Yep, got it. Yeah, I think these are just, it's going to be countless of these.
It's basically whenever you're a late stage private company and you're running out of cash, you basically walk up to the gulag and get your legs chopped off.
Yeah.
Then you go get some capital.
Go start again.
That's
my God.
And like every late stage company is basically like praying they don't need capital. Because if Stripe is taking a 30% haircut, because Instacart did this and now they're already 50% below what their last internal haircut was.
Wow. When did they do that?
In the middle of, sorry, not middle of this year, like March.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, like we said, I mean, we've seen a lot of these. We've seen people raising down rounds. We've seen all these signs. I mean, who knows? Hopefully sooner than later it turns around. But I think this is going to be the norm. Like you said, if it's happening to Stripe, we're going to hear countless of these stories.
No one's safe. No one's safe if it's happening to Stripe.
Yeah.
Because everyone, not only you can have your view like, oh, they're a credit card processor, Shopify's down, Stripe should be down. But the founders are revered like gods and they're willing to take a haircut. That means everyone's up.
Yep. Okay. Also, Netflix is moving forward with their ad plan. They've partnered with Microsoft to start their ad service. Do you know, does this article say like what it will look like, how it will affect like where our ads popping up? What does this look like? Do we know yet?
No, they haven't really released how ads are going to be integrated. It's just basically like it's, you know, the ad efforts are still in the very early days, but I think they just wanted to put this out there like, hey, we're serious. We're partnering with Microsoft. So they're trying to signal to the market that.
I like the days of everything free and not making sense economically. Like the fact you could just watch endless content on Netflix and there was never an advertisement. There was always like 50 new movies every time you checked. It was great.
So is the TV model, the cable bundle, like now proven to be that we should have never left it?
I think so. I think it's the same as delivery.
Yeah.
I think it's like, yo, you can't have someone bring you food. And by the way, you should probably take a taxi.
Yeah.
And also you can't have unlimited fucking content with no ads for like $1.99.
And think about this, how it's just a cycle of what the last 4 years, like TV's done, streaming's it.
Yeah, that was a big one. I get like, I would say Uber. Yeah, Uber seemed like it should be sustainable. I Instacart and that stuff's a little on the edge, but streaming replacing cable seemed like no brainer. That definitely is happening. And I think it's still up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, even Disney is down 40% their stock in the last 3 months. And the stock market's basically like, all we care about is Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So unless you prove Disney Plus can work, they're not even like valuing the parks or anything.
It's crazy.
It's fucking wild.
It's so crazy. I also just feel like there's just officially too many streaming platforms. Even today I was watching, I had the US Open on in the background and it just cuts off like at the end. And it's like, oh, the rest of it is on Peacock. And like, keep in mind,
it's not on ESPN.
No, it was on fucking Peacock. And I looked, I mean, maybe it was somewhere else, but I looked on any other thing that I had and I couldn't find it. And keep in mind, I was watching it on YouTube TV, which is another platform that I pay for to have those rare TV moments that I want to watch. And you're telling me I would have had to leave to watch it to download fucking Peacock and start my Peacock subscription just so I could watch Tiger finish out the back nine. It's crazy. I have 7 streaming platforms and I still get tripped up. There's just too many.
It was like the Olympics. I wanted to watch Dream Team basketball and I had to sign up for Peacock.
Peacock. It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Like,
I miss the days you just turn on NBC and you get the sports you want to watch.
I know. I miss when you could just call a taxi and take a ride and pay cash.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Cash
I miss
only.
those days. But I agree, man. I wish Apple would just buy Netflix and just let's start to consolidate here.
I was texting with Jad, who's a partner at William Morris, our good friend, yesterday. He's willing to come back on the pod. I want him to break down this whole conundrum of streaming versus TV versus HBO Max and from the entertainment side, because we obviously can sit from afar and from a business side and be like, what makes sense, but how they're dealing with internally with their talent, like where are they going?
I want to know, is the work drying up? Like, is it affecting, like, I think you brought this up a couple months ago. Like, is it affecting the just amount of work that they're able to get talent? Because there's just so many things being produced. Has that slowed? And
the budgets should be cut. Like Netflix can't spend what they spent last year this year.
Yep. Yeah, that has to be affecting. I'd love to hear from Jad about that.
Yeah,
about what it feels like at an agency. Okay, now new thing. This is another type of article that I'm guessing this is the first of many. Millions of Americans regret quitting their jobs during the Great Resignation. So we, over the last year, I mean, it's been happening for maybe a little longer, but we've been talking about this, the Great Resignation, and the fact that everyone's quitting their jobs, and no one wants to go to the office. And obviously all these big companies, Apple, Google, all these companies have tried to get people back in the office. They've had trouble. It's essentially been like all the leverage is in the employees' hands, and they're quitting because they can do gig work or they can figure something out, and they want to work from home. They want to be comfy. They want to watch their Netflix. It seems like, I mean, I'm always a little questioning of these random little polls, but it seems like things are starting to kind of turn there, and there's starting to be a little regret. And it turns out that, one of the main reasons for the regret is, the job market is harder than they imagined. It's not quite as rosy as it seemed. Things are a little tougher than they imagined.
What's crazy is 20 million Americans quit their jobs in the first 5 months of this year. 20 million.
I mean, talk about just unfortunate timing, though, because in their mind, it was like, oh, fuck, this is the new normal, NFTs, gig work from home. Everybody quits, and then literally recession.
Yeah.
And layoffs and everyone closing, hiring, and numbers are down. And it's like, oh, fuck, you just got caught in a trap.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, this is pretty obvious, and shit, man, keep your job right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm not happy. Like I said, I'm not happy for anyone's, tough times, but I am happy that this at least feels a little bit to make sense. Like when people were just rapidly quitting, and it was even as things started to get a little tight, and people were just not taking jobs. And even now there's so many available jobs that people just aren't taking. And for all of history that I can remember, it's always been, we're going to create more jobs. And now this is the first time I've ever experienced that there's so many jobs that just nobody wants. And so at least articles like this and little polls like this at least feel like it checks out. It makes sense, because I don't understand how anyone was even getting by.
And I still don't know how there's 11 million job openings when none of it makes sense to me. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the youth is just comfortable staying at home, and they weren't like us when 20 years ago, you're like, the first thing is get out of the house and live on your own.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like the pandemic may have just been like, you went back to your parents because of COVID. You needed a place to stay and you wanted to be safe or whatnot. And you left college.
But how do they go buy drinks? How do you go with your friends to a bar? I get you're just eating out of mom and dad's refrigerator. That's cool.
I mean, you have to imagine that has to be a big part of why people aren't just seeking work. I mean,
yeah.
Think about we have had workers at Young and Reckless that were working at Reckless during the day, Ubering at night just to pay apartment rent.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get it. Makes no sense. But I get it. You can move back in with mom and dad, but then are mom and dad just ultra stressed right now because they're paying for their 23-year-old kid's gas, and
And mom and dad's
Starbucks?
401k's down 30%.
Yeah, I don't get it. At least this article feels like a sign of normalcy as opposed to like Great Resignation still going strong. People are over it. Because Stimmy's long gone.
Stimmy's never coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
We'd have to be in a depression for Stimmy to come back.
I don't ever want to hear the word Stimmy again. Stimmy fucked us.
And you have to imagine when you have the government actively saying we want unemployment, like don't quit.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get that job back.
Yeah. I'm telling you, people don't, your average American worker doesn't pay attention to that stuff. They're so behind on like, oh, this is happening. You know, like that's the reason why people were still resigning like in May, you know, or April, because like I don't think your average person is aware of how grim things are going to look for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're still kind of operating on old news. I mean, now I think it's starting to catch up finally, but I think that they were operating on kind of old news for a while.
Do you guys, to the young crew in the pod room, do you guys have friends worried about jobs or they don't care?
Well, right now, all my friends are in school still. So it's just summer internships.
Okay.
Yeah, most people my age are still with their parents, summer internships, going away for school and coming back.
Yeah, the same. They're either at home or they're bunkering down where they are. No one's trying to move at all because they know what's coming.
And what about you, Javier? You're a little older than the college kids.
Yeah, I actually have one buddy whose company had some layoffs. Unfortunately, he was part of it. So now he's like tripping out because like health insurance and like now it's like all this other stuff. So yeah, I mean,
it's starting to hit.
Yeah.
Can I ask
So
you
your
a question
couch is going to be full.
Yeah. Before his layoff, did he know that a layoff might be coming, or was it a pretty?
Oh no, he was working from Airbnbs. He was like, he was doing like the Bali work from home. He was chilling.
He was YOLOing.
Yeah. And then not chilling anymore. Let me tell you,
Bali.
That's what I think. I think people are getting like over the last month, and then moving forward, I think people are getting blindsided. Like I think even though this happened really quickly, and we've been kind of talking about it, but it still happened really fast. I feel like we've seen this coming, I don't know, on the pod for the past, how long? 5 months?
At least. I think the tea leaves were at the end of last year. Like, this isn't sustainable.
So I think if you had like a little cousin, you would have told them, who was in college, you would tell them not to quit their job, probably starting like December, January.
I think the moment Putin invaded Ukraine in January, keep your fucking job.
Exactly. And so what I'm saying is that, and I'm not trying to say, oh, we know it. I'm just saying that this already feels out of nowhere to us. But we're saying that probably as early as January, we could have seen that things were starting to look a little sketch. I think that there are people getting fired today that are blindsided. They're like, what the fuck is this? What? Recession? I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's pretty brutal.
I agree.
Well, I guess that's a good ad for a group chat. Okay, last but not least, I told you I was watching the US Open. It looks like, by the way, I know that I'm not as good of a golf journalist as I should be, especially if I'm going to start my LIV podcast. But I know that like the US Open tried to keep the LIV players out of playing. It looks like they must have won. I think that they sued them or threatened to sue them to be able to play. It looks like they must have won because Dustin Johnson and some of those guys are playing in the US Open. But
British Open, right? Right now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, St. Andrews.
St. Andrews, yep.
So I think it's different, right? It's like the majors are outside PGA, so they can't play in the PGA events, but the majors they're allowed to.
Yeah, but I read something that like they were trying to kind of keep them out, like to kind of partner up with the PGA and be like, fuck these guys. But I think that the players sort of protested that or whatever, and they got in. Maybe I read that wrong, but either way, the LIV guys are playing there. But there's a little bit of like, I don't know. I guess Tiger kind of spoke out against LIV, and then good old Phil Mickelson responded. It is not by any means a beef. Phil said he still respects Tiger, no matter what his opinion is on the LIV guys. I mean, there's just still this kind of back and forth between LIV world and PGA world that'll probably go on for a little longer.
Yeah, I think Tiger, he's the billionaire GOAT, and he's basically like earned it in the dirt, grind out the PGA. If you want to be a great, sure. But if you want 125 million guaranteed, how can you tell someone not to take it?
Yep. I agree. It really feels to me like more people. And
you get to still play the majors.
Yeah.
All people determine who the GOAT is if you how many majors. No one cares about anything else.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like people are kind of like softened. When you look on social media, well, this I guess is to be expected. If you look at like golf purists and like the older generation, they are mad at LIV. But if you look on social media, all the young social media chatter is pretty pro LIV.
Yeah, because it's a spectacle. It's fun. They're on the private jets. They're singing "We Are the Champions."
Yeah, getting bags.
There's hundreds of millions of dollars. What have we learned that young people care about? Money, flash, when Lambo. LIV is all of it.
Yeah, I agree. I just think this blows over in like the next couple of months, but I think just like Trump, just like the left mainstream news, by being little babies about Trump, accidentally made Trump more popular. I think that's exactly what PGA did to LIV.
Yep.
Because all of PGA's airtime for the last few months has been LIV. Complaining, talking about the pureness of the sport and and I just think they just made LIV way bigger than it already would have been. Because to be honest, as a golf viewer now, LIV is like a little obscure. Like I don't even know where to watch it. Like I saw it on YouTube Live the other day.
I think that's the only place to watch it.
That's fucking weird. It's just like you could have like drowned these guys out at least for a little bit and just like, oh, no one's talking about it. I don't even know where to watch these guys. They're now just gone from like the public, but instead they talked about it nonstop. And so I found it because I wanted to see what the fuck was going on over there.
Yeah. I get it.
Anyway, Tiger's not going. Tiger had a, close to $1 billion offer. He's not into it. Okay. Time for winners, losers, content. Anand, who is your biggest winner of the week?
In that realm, and this is like no moral like qualities behind it, is Saudi Arabia. So they obviously
this guy just went full. He started with being a LIV fan and then just went full Saudi.
So, take out all morality. I'm just talking about public events. They, started LIV like 3 months ago and been I don't even remember how long ago. Yeah. They've poached a bunch of the stars. Yep. They've made a splash, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
And, no one's, there's been no repercussions for it. Then we have President Biden in Saudi right now to talk to MBS.
Yep.
And then we have, because of oil, and then we have what we learned yesterday, that Saudi Arabia offered Cristiano Ronaldo 220 pounds to come play in some soccer league that I've never heard of.
Really?
He hasn't taken it. He hasn't taken it, but like that's the rumor that they offer him 220. That's like the equivalent of like $300 million.
Oh my God, they're doing it again? Yeah. Oh my God. Am I correct in thinking that these guys are like, they kind of see the writing on the wall that long term, all this oil money might not be the thing. And so they're just diversifying into all of these different
I think it's a PR like crisis management because they've had so much bad crisis. So let's bring the West over. Let's show how hospitable we are, how much money we're willing to invest in you guys.
Yeah.
And basically like forcing people's hands with money and oil to basically turn a blind eye to all the moral regressions they've had.
Yep. Totally fair. Okay. We'll steal everyone's athletes and fucking take over. I mean, fine. Cristiano Ronaldo, man. Imagine if they just piss off multiple massive.
I mean, if they get Cristiano Ronaldo, like he is, I know in America, like people, he is period the biggest sports star in the world by every measure, followers, engagement, recognition. Doesn't matter what country in the world, like in Europe and Asia and the Middle East, he's it. I know in the US people don't care about him as much, but in terms of like the rest of the world, it's Cristiano.
Yeah, I think there's a unique opportunity here. It's kind of like how we talked about years ago with Netflix and all the streaming platforms where like it seemed like they were buying up so much content that if you were a writer, director, videographer, anything, like people were getting work. It feels to me like if you're like in my opinion, Phil Mickelson came up so massively because like the guy's old, like he's not, you know, like he's not making real runs. Yeah, he's competitive, but like to play his whole career and have all of his accolades and everything that he has and then catch a massive bag on the way out. I mean, talk about an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like I wonder what Phil Mickelson will make over the next 10 years versus what he would have no live. It has to be mind-blowingly different.
Right.
It's great. If you want to know who, actually, the sort of in the realm of my winner, I hope that these guys are talking to the Saudis. Jake Paul.
Yeah. Jake
Paul and Logan Paul. If I was them, I would be knocking on the Saudis' door every day and saying, hey, we want to start a boxing league. And Jake Paul has another fight coming up. Now, I don't know who's the winner here. I think that my winner is actually his opponent, Hasim Rahman. Sorry, I'm butchering that, I'm sure. Because Jake Paul was supposed to fight Tommy Fury, who's Tyson Fury's little brother. He bailed for the second time. Tommy Fury bailed. He said that this time he couldn't get into the country. So Jake kind of pivoted quickly and picked Hasim. I think Hasim is the winner because now Hasim, you know, was relatively in obscurity, and now he, you know, will get this big moment. And for him, I'm sure it'll be great, and you know, a lot of attention, and that he otherwise wouldn't have gotten. For Jake, I think it's really, really bad. I think this whole like Tommy Fury hunt has now cost him a year of really messing up his boxing trajectory. Like he was supposed to fight him last time. That didn't go through. He ended up fighting Tyron Woodley again. And sure, he got the like all-star knockout, but I think the pay-per-view numbers were really bad for that fight. I don't think anyone really cared. They just kind of watched that clip online, and that was cool. That's what went viral. And this fight with Hasim, I don't think anyone gives a shit. Like, I think the pay-per-view on this is going to be rough.
So is he your loser?
Actually, I think Hasim is my winner.
Hasim's
his opponent, because he was just, I don't know what the fuck he was up to. He was just hanging out. And all of a sudden you get this chance to fight this YouTube kid. He's going to have the biggest fight of his career.
Yeah.
But I don't really know much about him. Hopefully we got a good fight. I don't know. I just think it's rough for the thing. But man, if I was those guys, I would be trying to start a Saudi boxing league ASAP.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, who's your loser?
My loser's obvious. It's the Federal Reserve. I think they have no idea what they're doing. They have proven they have no idea what they're doing. And Americans are going to get hurt across the board, rich, poor, middle class, along the way. And it's insane. We're in 2022 and we have a governing body that dictates the economy and the livelihoods of all of us. And they've presented that are demonstrated they have absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. It's also pretty wild. Like, they're able to just make such like terrible calls, and then like just kind of like we said with the political news outlets, like you can make these terrible calls and then just kind of act like it never happened. Mm-hmm. Like the amount of time that they just sat and said inflation is transitory with so
was like
many
December
people.
of 2020, 8 months ago.
And so many people were saying, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Here's why. Here's why. Like, how do you not have better advisors, or like, how do you make these terrible mistakes? Okay, my loser, I got to give my loser, I think, to Hunter Biden. The guy I kind of talked about it with Elon roasting him, but like the guy, I mean, look, if you just love like hookers and crack and stuff. Like, I'm not, you know, that's your thing. I'm not mad at you. It seems like he's got a bit of struggle going on, and I'm not here to judge his personal life. But why in God's name is he making short films about every hooker encounter? They like hacked his iCloud or whatever happened. And it is just, it's almost like a joke of like what not to do. Like he's literally just filming like his drugs and then the hookers, and then he's doing weird stuff in the video. Is really weird. It's really dark, but I just don't understand why he films it all. He's not of the filming generation. He's not a kid that grew up on TikTok that only knows to film everything. Why is he filming it all in such depth?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
It's very weird.
It's weird, man. And the other day I saw Biden was giving a speech and a guy stood up and was like, what about Hunter? What about Hunter and the crack and the hookers? And it was just a really awkward moment. And it's just, especially if your dad's in politics, like, come on, man. Anyway, It's a bummer. I feel bad for him, but it's like, why are you filming everything? Okay. Who's your content? Any content recommendations on it?
I have a really old one Amanda and I watched last night. It's her favorite movie, Dirty Dancing. It's from 1987.
Yeah.
With Patrick Swayze.
Great film.
Great movie. Holds the test of time. Very entertaining. Very racy.
Yeah.
For, you know, the audience it was playing to, but like, man, it's good film. Great film.
Yeah. I agree.
For young folks that probably never heard of it. Check it out.
What's funny is there's I'm gonna botch I don't remember the name of the artist, but there's a song that was used in Stranger Things that's a really old song that now is like, you know, number 2 on Spotify and all this stuff, and it's like huge on TikTok, and it's this old song that's just like one of the themes of Stranger Things that's getting like a whole new life, and all the kids love it. So I feel like there was an era where like it had to be new, and it was the new thing, and old stuff sucked. And I feel like there's this interesting, like, you know, people kind of rediscovering old stuff.
Yeah, I think Top Gun's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I mean, the music's from decades ago.
Yeah, you're right. In theory, Top Gun should have been too long of a wait, and it should have been like, I don't know if that's going to work, but it fucking worked.
Yeah, I think it came out in the perfect time where everyone's disgusted with what's going on presently.
Yeah.
That the nostalgia, the 80s, you know, early 90s was fun.
That's great. Okay, mine's my content's a throwback too. I actually just started reading. This is an old classic, the book "Fooled by Randomness" by Nassim Taleb. Very popular book, but I just it's very timely because it talks a lot about like how so many people that, especially in the world of like traders and the stock market, how many people that, you know, we look at as geniuses because they're rich or they've had all this financial success, actually just got lucky. And in any given pool of traders, there's going to be some lucky ones. And a lot of times the most successful people are actually the luckiest. And just kind of going into all these details, it's a little tough to read, but it's very timely. So for any of the readers out there, it'll make a lot of sense, especially with like the NFT craze and the crypto, and everyone you ran into was a crypto millionaire. I would be curious to hear Nassim's take on the last 5 years.
Yeah. I think he would say my book was perfectly right.
Yeah. I mean, because you always talk about this, like how many black swan events you've experienced in your lifetime. But even in the past few years, between COVID and stimulus and crypto, and I mean, there was so many random fucking events and so many random millionaires. It's wild. I mean, I have no idea the context of this or anything, but I just saw a post apparently the other day from one of the FaZe Banks, that like, he was like super depressed and like lost all of his money. And
really?
Yeah. And like those kids were huge in NFTs, and, you know, like even Logan Paul talks about like he lost millions of dollars, Jake Paul, millions of dollars, like all those guys made a lot of money over the last 5 years and put a lot of it into crypto.
To be really rich to be losing millions and millions of dollars and it not affect you.
Exactly. And so I don't know. I don't know the exact, like maybe there's something more to the phase banks thing than I know, but yeah, he was talking about losing all of his money and being depressed.
To what you're saying about black swans, like COVID last 3 years is by far the craziest 3 years I've experienced. And I lived through 2 previous black swans. Yeah. And they're happening more frequently and more intensely. Like what's next?
Can we just get a couple white swans? You know what I mean? It's just too fucking crazy, man. I don't know. Maybe we get a period of calm.
Hopefully.
Okay. That's all we got. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll be back on Sunday. Don't quit your job. Okay. Exactly. Stick in there for a little bit longer. See what happens. Bye-bye.
Peace.